Hi, everybody. I'm Mike, and this is Mike Miller Talks Life. Today's quote, today's thought: don't believe everything you think. Have you ever taken the time to think about what you are thinking? I know that may seem a little weird and a little too introspective for many of us, but when you realize that the average person thinks anywhere from 50 to 70,000 thoughts per day, it might be worthwhile to take a look at some of those. To realize that we are constantly thinking, constantly processing, constantly reflecting on and interpreting what is going on around us, what is happening to us, what is happening in our relationships, and the conclusions that we make determine so much about our life, both good and bad, positive and negative. So, have you ever thought about what you're thinking? Our thinking and what we say to ourselves drives everything we do or don't do. What we think determines how we feel and what we do and how we relate to people. Cognitive therapists tell us this all the time, and I think it's like so true. We have fearful, confident thoughts, stressful, anxious, or peaceful thoughts, angry, hurtful, or relaxed thoughts, personal identity thoughts, positive or negative thoughts, hopeful or hopeless thoughts, shaming or affirming thoughts, spiritual thoughts. Our thinking, not what we go through, is what causes depression, stress, what can keep us up at night, what damages or strengthens our relationship, robs us of joy, builds our self-esteem or tears it down, and determines how you feel about God. It may surprise you that the Bible has a very practical side to it, and it has a lot to say about what we think. These statements can be found in the Bible. Thoughts determine who and what you really are. A major change in life starts with changing your thinking. We're told to take captive or take charge of our thoughts and deal with the thoughts that are causing you trouble and pulling you away from what you really want your life to be. So I think it would be very interesting and helpful if you're struggling with feelings or behavior that you're not happy with, to step back and take an honest look at what you are thinking, what you're saying to yourself. Because what we think determines how we feel and what we do. We can't control thoughts when they pop into our head, but we can challenge them when they pop up. And we can question their accuracy and come up with strategies to deal with them, or even replace them with new, more accurate, positive lines of thinking. And a good place to start this mind change is to accept the fact that not all your thoughts are accurate. We are actually, in many ways, deceiving ourselves by what we think. You could be totally wrong about a person, about yourself, or about a situation. But our thoughts are so powerful that even if we believe something that's not true, it will affect us as if it were true. If you believe that, a silly example, but if you believe that your boss thinks you're kind of dumb, this will affect your relationship with him or her, whether he or she thinks that way about you or not. A young teen took her life, and the note said, I am tired of not being enough. It was tragic. She was enough. She was more than enough. Her thinking was wrong. Her interpretation of her situation and what certain people had been saying was faulty. But it was true to her. And her faulty thinking led her to make a horrible choice. Just because you think or feel a certain way does not make it true. How we think, how we interpret life can be automatic, which makes it even more tricky to deal with. They're like a habit. We don't, many times, aren't even conscious that we're in that line of thinking. Something happens, we start interpreting what it means, how it affects us. And this produces feelings. And then we start doing certain things. And the power of these thoughts is that they shape us, they guide us, and they determine how we feel and what we do. So we can't risk ignoring them. James McCrae, a person I was reading online, says you're building and developing a life, producing a person, an approach to life with what you consistently think. He says our mind is like a garden, and our thoughts are the seeds we plant. They can be good thoughts, negative, bad thoughts, inaccurate thoughts, but they sprout to life. They can be beautiful and positive and healthy, or they could be like weeds that are not healthy, not good, and they choke out the good that's planted there as well. And I think that's what's happening. Our mind is producing, and we're allowing the wrong things to be planted. Some common examples of faulty thinking. When something goes wrong, we quickly respond with, things always go wrong for me. I never get a break. My life is terrible. Or a person you're in the relationship with treats you kind of cruelly and is real moody. And you say, I keep doing things that set him off. I am ruining this relationship. I have to chuckle at that. Boy, how wrong we can be. When we do something wrong, like being really irritable with our children, impatient, and we conclude, I'm a terrible mother. I shouldn't have been a mother. I can't do it. Or we fail at work or at school, and our takeaway is, boy, I'm such an idiot, a total failure. Or a single mom who can't find work because she can't afford childcare. And she just starts thinking in a hopeless, defeated way, I am totally stuck. I'm never going to go anywhere with my life. My spouse is being very quiet. And you begin to assume he's really upset with me. Or you get let go from your job because of cutbacks. And you begin to interpret that event. I must be a terrible employee. They chose me to let go. No one will hire me now. Or sometimes people who are into faith start thinking that God is so disappointed with me. I'm not doing what I should be doing, or I did that, and I know it's wrong, and he's punishing me with all these problems. All this kind of stuff is going on in our head. And we are at the mercy of these habitual thoughts, good or bad. They hold us back or move us forward. They prevent us from enjoying life and people, or they fill us with joy. They cause misery, bad choices, or they can create a very productive, healthy person. They fill us with fear or confidence. So, why not question your thoughts? Don't believe everything you think. When you're feeling down, when you're stressed, you're fearful, you're feeling hopeless or defeated, feeling like you're not enough, take a look at what you're thinking, what you're saying to yourself. That's what's causing those feelings. And your thinking could be wrong. Our thought patterns are pretty consuming simply because we repeat them so often in our head. They're like just a repetition over and over and over, like a looping machine for electric guitar. They just keep playing the same thing over and over and over. And so they can get so consuming that you actually might have to literally speak out loud to yourself. I know, it's getting weird, right? Speak out loud to yourself to interrupt those thoughts and get your attention. So I'd recommend doing this when no one's around. Maybe get in the car and roll up the windows and go somewhere and just start yelling at yourself to get your attention. You want to question and challenge your thinking. So ask, number one, is that true? Will I never get another job? Am I really dumb and a total failure? Am I a terrible parent? Is your whole life really terrible? Are you the cause of your boyfriend's moods or your girlfriend's moods? And I think it's good to get those statements and say them out loud so you can actually hear what you're thinking. Maybe journal this if that helps you. And then I want you to answer, number two, how do you know that is true? Because remember, just because you think it, just because you feel it, doesn't mean it's true. I mean, those are your thoughts and your feelings. But we don't want to leave it there. So you got to push and find out. You need some evidence. What does reality say? Are you really a total terrible person? Are you really a total failure? Is your conclusion even possible? We have to be that pointed with ourselves. Are you assuming something about other people? Did they actually say that? You have to push yourself. What does your history say? I have actually done pretty well up to that test or that new program they're using at work. So I'll probably do well again. I've gotten jobs in the past. There's no reason why I'll never get another job. My children are happy and healthy. So I think I'm doing okay. After all, kids can be pretty irritating sometimes. Can you see how when you look at it and you're looking for proof, if you think something's true, how do you know it's true? And you're just walking through some logical questions. Maybe if you have a couple of close friends, one of them could help with this. And the third thing is, what are these thoughts doing to me? Do these thoughts create peace or stress and inner turmoil? What emotional and physical sensations arise from you believing that line of thinking? What actions are you taking because of what those thoughts are making you feel and therefore choose to do? Are you avoiding people, withdrawing from people, always angry and irritable? Are you depressed, defeated? Are you doing things to bury those feelings instead of just dealing with them? I think it's very important to see what your thoughts are doing to you. Your problem feelings and problem behavior is really you and your thinking. And it's real important to see that. That's the only way that we're going to turn it around. And then you want to ask, how can you replace that problem line of thinking with something that's actually more accurate and better for you? You see, your whole life isn't terrible. We could go through your whole life from birth to whenever you start remembering up to the present. And we could probably find some pretty good days and some pretty good events that have happened, which says your whole life isn't terrible. So then we could build a conclusion of, well, I'm just going through a tough time right now, but I've gone through tough times before and I've come through it. I'll come through this. See how that is so much lighter and actually more accurate, and it's taking a great load off of you. So just do that with those problem thinking. Try to find a more accurate and healthier approach. And when you do this, then the final thing is just to observe how you feel with more accurate thoughts. You will see, it might be tiny, teeny tiny little observations or little changes, but you are feeling more hopeful. You're feeling a little more positive. You're dealing with things better, and your confidence is growing because you're doing it. What my advice is to become a fact checker, not of everybody's statements, but of your own thoughts. Make it a habit. And it's hard because these thoughts that you've had are habits. They have gone unchecked for a long time. And it's hard to make a change in how you think. So start small. Pick one line of thinking, not the worst, and see how it goes. And you will realize that you can change your thoughts, and this will change you. It will change your mood, your feelings, your relationships. You will feel, and I hate saying this, but it's so true, you will feel empowered about your life, that you can turn things around. A great quote, one of my favorites. Don't believe everything you think. Hey, thanks so much for listening. If you like this, I hope you'll click it. If you have benefited and maybe it's made you start looking at things a little bit different, I hope you'll just click a like, and that'll be really encouraging because that's the goal always. Or maybe you know somebody that you can share this with that might really benefit from this kind of a talk. Something I get pretty fired up about, so obviously that's why it's gone a little longer. But I hope it's helpful. And until next week, I hope you have a healthy and good week.